What's going on, Tamers? East here, and the Digimon Alysion Beta has come and gone, and I miss it dearly already. Do me a favor, Seiji, can you just like Photoshop me with like the Dexter Laboratory pose like at the locker with like Digimon Alysion Beta as the picture, just like right here, just like... Oh wait, I guess if you're here, I'm tall AF, hold on. One more time. Oh. And if you can't do that, then I just look like a fool for nothing, but it is what it is, I suppose. Nasty. So, in part of that entire series of videos that I put out, one talking about the game's economy in the beta, as well as another one talking about my initial impressions of it, I also reached out to the folks on YouTube and asked, hey, if you guys had any questions, I'll do a quick Q&A video to answer anything that I haven't covered in any of the other videos that I've made on the channel. If you haven't seen the other videos on the channel, again, the economy and the initial impressions video, I definitely recommend you check them out. I think I answer a lot of questions folks might have right off the bat. And these are kind of like all the wrap-ups and things I maybe didn't think about while I was playing or making videos myself. That being said, let's actually hop right into it. There's actually quite a few questions, so I don't want this video to be too long. Let's see. First one, is there a draft or sealed mode? No, so unfortunately there was no draft or sealed mode in the beta, but now that you mention it, that's a really good idea. That would be so sick. I think Shadowverse is something called Take Two, where you get like a bunch of cards like presented to you in the form of like two cards together, and you choose which one you want, so you build a deck and then you just play with that. That's a cool idea. Again, like a draft or sealed mode where you could trade in something in order to get like X amount of packs and build a deck with that would be cool. I'm wondering about how you would be able to work around the colors and evolution requirements, although I guess they could do like they do for, I think, card shops when new sets release, and they just kind of ignore the color requirements for evolutions for that. Maybe that's possible, I don't know. Although I will say that now that you have access to just like controlling what cards do pop up, maybe it's possible that they can make some sort of system that would allow you to just build a regular deck, or it would allow you to build a legal deck using the cards you got in some way. So yeah, draft or sealed mode, win. That's actually a really, really good idea. I hope they hop on that at some point. Number 2, is it gacha? I don't think I understand this question. Here's the thing, I always thought that card games were just inherently gacha, but the cool thing about the card game gacha is that you can actually use it to battle and play with some people. It's not just like, oh, look at the shiny thing I got. You can actually use it. I lack the critical thinking to understand this question. So, for lack of a better word, yes, gacha in the sense that you can like roll for packs to get rare cards. I know this sounds very straightforward, but I feel like I'm misunderstanding the question. I don't know. Yeah, it's gacha. It's card games. And 3, if it is gacha, is it more along the lines of Duel Links / Shadowverse, or is it more Arena / Master Duel? Here's the deal. I haven't played the Magic the Gathering Arena game, so I don't really know what you mean there, but I think it's closer to Duel Links and Shadowverse. I don't remember Duel Links. It's so long ago. In the fact that you can, of course, get packs. You can roll for cards through packs, but there are also a set amount of ways that you can craft the exact cards that you want. So in that sense, I think it's more of the first than the second, more like Duel Links Shadowverse than Arena or Master Duel. But if I'm wrong on this, someone in the comments correct me, please let me know. All right, next up, here are some questions. 1, how many max decks can you make? Is there a limit to how many deck boxes you can own? Ooh, that's a great question. If I remember the UI correctly, there didn't seem to be a maximum amount of decks you could own, but I'm sure there's got to be a limit somewhere. If they took the time to limit the battlefield to X amount of spots or something, I'm sure that they made a limit for the amount of decks you can have as well. Whether that limit will change from the beta to the actual game, probably. I'm assuming that the beta probably had a lower limit, although I guess maybe they just set a limit and that'll be it. But I would guess that as the game goes on, you also would want to build more and more decks, and so you would need the space to do that. Again, I'm being a little bit optimistic here, but unfortunately I don't know the answer to this one. I don't know how many max decks you can make, but there were like 2 lines. I think it was like more than 10. This one is how do the pack pulls work. Is there a pity system? There's a pity system in that every 10 packs there is, I believe, 1 guaranteed SR, but I don't know if that was just for a 10 roll or not. The pack openings were so good over the course of the beta, and I'm assuming this is because they improved the rates so that it's easier to actually play with decks and build decks in the beta when you don't have access to money. It was hard to tell, but you always got a lot of like super rares and secret rare cards, so it didn't really feel like it was an issue. So unfortunately, it's hard to answer this question without knowing what the end result will be for like pull rates for cards. But I do remember the game mentioning about like getting a SR every 10 for every 10 roll you do. What will the release schedule look like as more modern sets are brought to the game? Brother, my uncle is not named John Bandai. I wish I knew the answer to that question. Trust me, if I did and I could say it, you'd be the first to know. Let's see, moving on. How's obtaining cards and making decks? Do you think it'll be a problem later down the road if you make a lot of decks? This probably goes into more of the question that I got asked earlier, asking about the max amount of decks you could make. I found that just opening packs and getting rid of the foil cards, just trading those in for card synthesis points in order to create more cards or target the cards you want to find, was really good. Again, cards had like commons, uncommons, rares, super rares and secret rares had like a set amount, a card synthesis point you could get for like essentially destroying them or disassembling them as the game calls it. But foils gave you 2,000 no matter what kind of foil it was. So even if it was a common foil, you would just get 2,000 points. And because you got like one foil almost every pack, it felt like you could just trade in like, well, I opened like 40 packs and I traded in like 20 foils. I can make pretty much whatever I wanted. But again, that's probably because it was the beta. I expect that number to change a little bit. Whether it becomes a problem later down the road, I think it's going to really depend on, number one, if they do adjust the pull rates, whether or not the pull rates are going to be the same as they are in the final product, as they were in the beta, and what the card synthesis rate for foil cards looks like. I think those are going to be one of the two biggest factors in determining like how free-to-play friendly the game is. Oh, I have a good question. Why didn't I get chosen? That's a really good one. And I don't have any exact answers on this one, but if you found yourself playing Digimon Slop or Sakuyamon or Royal Knights at some point in the past, I don't know, 2 months, you probably didn't get chosen. It's the karmic scales of the universe tipping back into balance for the crimes and the sins that you've committed these past 2 months. Hey East, my question is, does Alysion have a card crafting system like Hearthstone or Master Duel? It does have a crafting system, and I cover quite a bit of this in the economy video, or the like how free-to-play friendly is the game video. Basically, it's you disassemble your cards for points, and then you can use those points to create other cards. Oh my god, that hurt. I punched the desk. Oh, Jesus, hold on a second. F that hurt. Jesus. Come on, someone craft me a new hand? That hurt like hell. But long story short, you get those card synthesis points for disassembling cards, and based on the rarity of the card that you want to create, you can spend those card synthesis points in order to create those cards that you don't have that you want to maybe add to a deck. What cards have you noticed are missing, if any, from the physical release to the digital release? Everything after BT3, to be honest. Yeah, so only the first 3 sets were available during the beta, and I think a lot of people were either saying or hoping that the game is a sim on release where all of the cards in the physical version of the game are available during the release of Digimon Alysion, and honestly, I don't think that happens. And I don't have, the source for that is basically I made it up. Like I don't have any like concrete source to point to. However, if you are a card game company and you have the financial incentive to build this digital version of the game, then I would assume you would not make it the exact same product as the physical version of the game. Because if you do make it like that, then one of the products cannibalizes the other, and you don't want that. You want for them to like work together in tandem to make money, not have one drop to 0 and the other one just make money for you. And so my guess is that I think on launch, it's probably not going to be the same. I don't even think it becomes the same after a while. I mean, maybe, who knows? I could be wrong. I'm happy to be wrong here. I'd love to be able to like play the digital version of the game, have a really good UI to stream to folks out there as a really good presentation of the game, and then the actual tournaments that people could compete in would be like offline in the physical version of the game. It's kind of like the digital version being a pipeline to the physical version of the game. That's my hope, but I don't work at Bandai, and they don't listen to me for business decisions. So there's that, as evidenced by the fact that I couldn't stream the game. Do you think Alysion will be on the same stage as the physical game in terms of tournaments? If so, how would you imagine it to be? That is a really good question. I think I just laid out in my last answer about why I don't want the digital version of the game to have like official tournaments. I think doing it like Pokemon is a really great idea, where you create Pokemon Pocket, and then Pokemon Pocket basically shows people how to play the game, and then from there they can move into the physical version of the game if they want to like play competitively, or they want to play the real version of the game. I think for Alysion, it's going to probably mirror the rules of the physical card game, with maybe the small caveat of like board sizes, where the physical version doesn't have a board size limit, where it seemed like in the actual digital game for Digimon Alysion, there was a limit of 10 cards on the board, like 10 stacks, essentially. That includes your tamers, which I think a lot of folks did not care for. I think it was probably one of the biggest pieces of feedback folks gave on the game. But to go back to the question here, I think it'd be really fun if folks or people in the community actually created online tournaments for Digimon Alysion. I think that's a great way to get people together and like to form communities and to like have like a group that you can play with. And then if you really like that and you get the confidence to compete in the physical version, then you can move over to the physical version of the game and then play like the real thing. I will note that one of the features that was missing in the beta that would allow people to have like online tournaments for Digimon Alysion is the absence of a like player room or a matchmaking room where you can like set up your own private room, invite somebody, or maybe like put up like a code for someone to join the room and then like have a battle that way. Alysion only had random matchmaking for the beta, so that feature was notably missing, and they would definitely need to add it if they plan on doing actual tournaments. Grandis Kawagamon asks, what are the chances they just let green be green, especially since it ruined all future card design, and don't restrict any of the download cards, hidden potential discovered, etc. So let me answer this, because this is actually a multi-part question, but let me answer this question with another example. When I was playing the beta, I realized after like 3 matches or so that Hammer Spark was not limited, where it is limited to 1 in the physical version of the game. In the beta, it was not limited at all, so people were running 4 Hammer Sparks in their deck, and yeah, that gives me reason to believe that some of the restricted cards that are restricted in the physical version of the game may not be restricted in Alysion, at least at launch. Kind of spooky. Going back to the days where someone could just gain 4 memory or like gain 3 memory or gain 2 memory on a turn is a little jarring when you haven't had that option for a long time. So that's the first part of that question. Second part, if they feel pressured to, could they do semi-limited ratios of 2 or 3? Never understood Digimon's all 4 ofs or nothing, 1 or 2 mindset, or sorry, 0 or 1 mindset. So he's basically saying, what he's asking here is, will they, instead of either letting cards be at 4 of or 0 or 1 of, those are like pretty much all of Bandai's restriction choices right now. A card is either you can have 4 in the deck, only 1 of it in the deck, or it's banned outright. Will they maybe do some like semi-limited 2 or 3 ofs in the deck only? I don't know. I mean, it could be interesting to use the Digimon Alysion game as a way to like beta test ban lists, though I wonder if you piss people off doing this. I don't know. I'm really giving that some thought there. If we're really talking about beta testing things like different kinds of ban ratios, I think an easier win might be like actually beta testing formats. So for example, they have the format right now where 30 cards in your deck must be of the same type or trait. That's a possibility. They could have like tournaments like that. I think that's really easily enforceable. I think that'd be a lot of fun too. I don't think they have much of a reason to go the route of messing with the restricted amounts for cards, but who knows? I mean, again, it could be a really good testing ground. Let's see, next question. Is Rookie Rush weaker in Alysion than it was in the physical TCG? From the games I played, not really. Rookie Rush was really strong. For folks who hadn't played the game since its inception, Rookie Rush in the first like 3 sets was really, really good. And there were a couple of cards that could like kind of stop that, and you could run like a Mega Zoo-ish deck where you just ran a bunch of big cards who had really big effects, and then because there's not a lot of draw power in Rookie Rush decks because they just play at level 3s and then they get no draws off of evolutions, you can actually force them to burn all of their rookies immediately, play down a Volcanic Dramon, level 6, and he'll just wipe out everything that's under 4,000 DP immediately, and then your opponent has no hand, or at least not a usable hand anyway. So that dichotomy was still there. I felt like, and I think this is pretty common for the progression of card game sets when they come out. This is also definitely the case of Shadowverse, where when a set released, aggression and like rush decks were really strong, but as time went on, the control decks started to creep up into the game. And that's kind of how I felt with the meta as well, where I think early on people were just like, okay, I'm just gonna jam Rookie Rush and see if it still works. And of course, there are a couple of new cards added to the pool. I don't think they made too much of a difference. I think personally, my feeling is that probably some of the strongest cards that came out of the new stuff were the blue Renamon stuff. But that's because they had the power to attack twice, like by unsuspending, which kind of like goes in line with things like Cerberusmon, who could discard I think 2 or 3 cards and then unsuspend it and attack again. That on top of Rookie Rush actually seemed like a pretty viable option in my opinion. But as the time went on and the beta kind of crept on to some of the later days, like the amount of control decks I saw toward the end of the beta were much higher than the beginning. I think it's probably just because people were looking for answers early on. I think it's kind of funny how hard we sweat even though it's just the beta. But yeah, like I think people were trying out Control to see if there was a way that you could use some of the new black cards or just any of the new cards in general to help stomp out some of those Rookie Rush decks. How powerful are the new Alysion decks when compared to existing decks? I think that the Alysion cards were, I don't know, they felt like the sprinkle on top of something. And of course you could make a deck out of them, but some of them weren't that great. I tried out the Zafagamon black deck and I was like, ugh, this kind of bunk. it's just hard to get everything set up before the Rookie Rush deck just kills you. Again, I think that the is it Yukimon? I think it's Yuki. I completely forgot the name now. But basically the blue deck was probably the best of all three. Yeah, I do like the fact that the red deck that featured on Genmon and that line had the ability to wipe out Digimon of X DP or lower, and the tamer actually raised the threshold by 2,000 for every tamer you got down. That seemed really strong. But again, it's just a time thing where you have to take the time to play the tamer, you have to take the time to evolve up the line. Meanwhile, your opponent's playing like 1 to 2 Digimon each turn thanks to the Rookie Rush, and it's kind of tough to like stop that and stave that off until you have like, an actual like good like board up. Is there hand or security size limits like the one on the field? That's a really good question, and honestly, I can't really answer this one because there wasn't enough ways for an opponent to, 1, allow me the time to like recover as much as possible, and 2, the amount of cards that allowed me to recover in the game was like painfully small. Were there actually any cards in BT 1, 2, or 3 that actually let you recover cards? Can we check? So you just be jamming in Holy Waves, I suppose? Jamming in Holy Waves and Angemon, or Holy Angemons, or Magna Angemons in English, to recover. But yeah, I never had a chance to do that sort of thing, unfortunately. As far as hand sizes were concerned, there wasn't really a way to draw a ton of cards either, at least none that I saw, because you had to use cards during the course of a turn, and a lot of times you're just playing a card down, whether it's a tamer or like a level 3 Digimon or level 6 Digimon, and there's no evolution that's actually taking place, so it's hard to replenish your hand in that sense. If anyone actually had the chance and the ability to test this, yeah, let me know. I'd love to know about this in the comments below as well. The Wall says, East, how good is the story of the game in this beta? Is it focused on presenting mechanics or a really nice story? And the packs are following the same as the sets as the physical, or is there other distribution of the cards? All right, so the first question here, I think it's mostly just there to present the mechanics. Does it do a great job of that? Oh, it's all right. I thought it was okay, but it's hard for me to judge as someone who's been playing the game for about 5 years now. So I would probably look to someone who just got into the beta, who's never played the physical version of the card game and doesn't know about the physical version of the card game or know the rules, and then ask there. Do I know anybody like that? I think I've converted all my friends. And the packs, do they follow the same sets as the physical game, or is there other distributions of cards? Yeah, right now it's all the same as the physical sets in the game, with a couple of other cards sprinkled inside. Those, I guess, change up the gameplay a little bit. And our last question here, or I guess I should say the first question that was asked, Sarge Bling says, Digimon is my first TCG. Great to hear that, actually. Welcome, hope you have a lot of fun. The game is awesome. And as such, I don't have experience with online TCGs at all. I kind of thought that Alysion would function like the DCGO sim, just better. Like, could I go on, build the decks I want, and try things out before I went to spend real money buying physical product? In the sense that if you could just open packs, again, if the free-to-play ability of the game is there like it is in the beta, then I suppose that's very possible. And he says, okay, my actual question though is this. Am I being really naive here? And to quote Blurry Heart here, I think, yeah, it's pretty much hits the nail on the head. Extremely naive. I don't think Bandai is in the habit of building a sim that makes no money. If they did, I think it'd be really cool because that gives people a way to kind of like dip their toe into the game to see if they like it, and then if they do, then they can just go and play the physical version of the game. That would be awesome, but again, cool idea, but from a dollars and cents perspective, if I have to be the adults in the room, probably pretty unlikely. And so with that, I think we can wrap this one up, and unfortunately that means we have to lay down the Digimon Alysion Beta to rest. It'll be back soon, I believe. Have they given us a release date for it yet? I don't think they have. I'm hoping it's later this year, before the end of the year. That'd be really cool. I would love like the ability to just like hop on a train or something, just go play a bit of Digimon when I'm going somewhere across Tokyo, or if like you're at an actual like event, you can actually just play with people on the phone. If you like don't have a deck that you want to try out, or you don't have a deck that you brought in person, you can just play with someone at a tournament by pulling out Digimon Alysion. That'd be super cool. Anyway, if you folks have any other questions that I didn't mention in this video, or I didn't mention in any of the other Digimon Alysion videos, I may definitely check those out on the channel if you have not, then ask them down in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them there. Anyways, folks, I'm going to get out of here. Before you get out of here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.